everybody, and welcome to the Backbone Podcast, where common sense still makes sense in a world that is sick and getting sicker. And this is a breaking news podcast today. Trump had even given me the curveball. He said he was going to take 2 weeks to decide whether he was going to intervene in this conflict that will lead to nowhere, just this conflict that will lead to absolute destruction later on. But the Orange Messiah, who said that he wants to be a president of no wars, has gone back on his word. And today, Sunday morning Iranian time, but not so long ago, I just heard the report about 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, I should say. The U.S. has struck 3 Iranian nuclear sites. Now, these are the important sites that were hit. These were the sites in Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. Now, the U.S. conducted these airstrikes Sunday morning local time. That's Israeli time. Trump has announced that they were very successful on his Truth Social site, which incidentally went down for a bit. There's a lot of speculation about why that happened. And he said he will address the nation at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That is, at the time of this broadcast, about an hour and 20 minutes away. What does this mean? Well, it means that Trump's decision to intervene directly in support of Israel's efforts to dismantle Iran's so-called nuclear program will mark a historic escalation in the Middle East. This is not very good. It's an intervention that's fraught with risks and uncertainty, one that Trump and many of his predecessors have sought to avoid, including through diplomacy with Iran. But for some reason, and I don't know why, I'll never understand it, we are supposedly the strongest country in the world. At least our propaganda says that. But we allow this tiny little insignificant state called Israel to get us involved in needless, endless wars. Now, the attack, which came on the 9th night of this unprecedented war between Israel and Iran, many people are beginning to believe could provoke retaliation from Tehran against U.S. troops and military installations across the region. This is the thing. What if this is the little hors d'oeuvre, the little bait that the United States is giving Iran? Before World War II started, before the United States entered World War II, FDR had promised the American people we would never go into another foreign war. We were not going to go into it. World War I was too devastating, even though the United States was only in it for 2 years and played a minimal role in it. But the people did not want to fight any more European wars. So things were going out of control in Europe. The Germans were running roughshod over everyone. The Japanese had taken over Manchuria. And things were just going out of control. The British, the English were on their last legs. They couldn't defeat the Germans one-on-one. They never could. So FDR had to figure out a way to get the United States involved in this war. And what he did was he put an oil embargo on Japan. And then he ran naval military exercises right off of Japanese coastal lines, or where the international waters border is to Japan, leading Japan to believe that the United States was getting ready to exercise some military might on them. This provoked the attack on Pearl Harbor. Now, people are going to say, oh, no, it didn't. You're bullshit. Yeah, it did. If you read up on it, it's exactly what happened. The Japanese took the bait like dummies and attacked Pearl Harbor. And there are questions of whether FDR knew about this. He most certainly did. It was just like George Bush, who knew about September 11th. Could this be something similar? Trump promised we're not going to get involved in any more wars. Now, he got involved in this. This is an escalation here. The U.S. had no business getting involved in this. But if Iran attacks U.S. troops and U.S. bases in that region, the people of the United States who are, listen, we're basically, most of us are retarded, will basically fall for the trap of, oh, we have to go to war. We have to do this again. We have to go into another country, send 500,000 troops there, spend a couple of $1 trillion, and basically embarrass ourselves like we did in Korea, like we did in Vietnam, like we did in Afghanistan, like we did in Iraq. We'll do it again in Iran, like we did in Somalia, like we did in Kosovo, like we did in Rwanda. All those disastrous wars, all of them were lost. All of them. Nothing was accomplished in that. And Iran could be next, but Iran could be the end game because Iran has friends. And their friends are to the north in Russia, and their friends are to the east in China. And Russia has already stated, Putin has already stated, Iran needs to exist. China does not want Iran to disappear. They do not want Israeli or American influences beyond Saudi Arabia or into the Eastern Asia part of the continent. Iran is the buffer, and the Chinese will not allow the United States or Israel to take Iran over or destroy Iran. It won't happen. Now, Trump met with his national security team in the White House Situation Room Saturday evening. Apparently, Israeli officials said Israel was notified by the Trump administration in advance of the strikes. Well, of course, Israel's our daddy, I guess. An Israeli official stated that a B-2 stealth bombers, multiple, were used in the strike. Trump is quoted as saying, "We have completed our very successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. All planes are now outside of Iranian airspace, and they're safely on their way home." He also is quoted as saying, a full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site of Fordow, referring to Iran's most fortified uranium enrichment facility. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now, in bold letters, now this is a time for peace. Well, you bombed the shit out of them. If this is true, they did bomb them, but let's say they didn't destroy this. I mean, how stupid are we going to look? We have better have destroyed this. Trump goes on Truth Social and he puts a big, I don't know what you would call a tweet or Truth Social page. Quote, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites. All planes are now outside of Iranian space. We fully payload. Okay, all planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There's not another military in the world that could have done this. This is our time for peace. Thank you for your attention on this matter." At the time, this was at 7:50 tonight. It got 22,000 likes and over 5,000 retruths. I guess that's what you'd call it on Truth Central, Truth Social, whatever the hell it's called. So in the days of leading to this, Trump and his team had become increasingly convinced that diplomacy had run its course, I guess, and that military action would be necessary to eliminate this program that Iran was seeking, or Iran was in the middle of. Now, remember on Thursday, Trump said it would take at least 2 weeks for him to come to a decision to give Iran a final chance at negotiation, but preparations for the strikes were probably already underway. So Trump has now proven that he's a shyster. I mean, you can't believe anything he says. No one's going to take this guy's word seriously. Multiple B-2 stealth bombers capable of carrying 30,000-pound bunker busters, we talked about this the other night, were detected heading west across the Pacific on Saturday, as speculation mounted that the U.S. would strike Fordow. So I guess they went from what's that, Diego Garcia, that air base that they have around there. Trump publicly questioned Israel's capacity to take out the underground facilities. Israel can't do it. They don't have the sophistication or the know-how to do this. Saying, and he also quoted on Friday saying, they can break through a little section, but they can't go down very deep. That's what she said. Trump, whose America First base has been deeply divided on whether to join Israel's war, has remained steadfast in one position: Iran must never be allowed to obtain a nuclear weapon. Well, I mean, India has one. We didn't bomb the shit out of them. Pakistan has one. We know they're all fucking crazy. China has hundreds of them. Russia has hundreds of them, and those little friends with small hats and big noses also have them. I mean, what's the difference between Iran and Israel? There really is nothing that difference. The Iranians haven't murdered women and children, defenseless women and children, over the last 5-6 months like the Israelis have. Now, apparently, Trump made a last-ditch effort to push for U.S. intervention last week, exploring back channels to Iranian officials in Turkey. This was brokered by Erdogan, who is the Turkish president. Now, Turkey is a very interesting player in this whole thing, because the Turks hate the Israelis. They don't trust the Iranians, but they hate the Israelis. And they have the largest military in NATO. So, and if they attack, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, because the U.S. would intervene. The U.S. would intervene diplomatically. But if Turkey were to get involved in this war, if Russia were to get involved in this war, if China gets involved in this war, they have many more resources than we do. We can't fight a 4-pronged war. We can't do it. We can't beat one country. We're never going to beat 4. We just don't have the capacity to do it. Our military, believe the propaganda if you will, there are so many people that are starting to come out with the truth. U.S. military people who are saying our military isn't the shit anymore. We rely too much on air technology and drones and all this other stuff. But to win wars, you have to go on the ground, and we don't have the ground forces anymore to do this. Now, Trump was willing to send envoys, namely Steve Witkoff and J.D. Vance, who's another lummox, to attend the talks if necessary. But the effort seemed to collapse when the Ayatollah Khamenei, who was hiding over fears of an Israeli assassination, couldn't be reached to authorize the meetings. Well, here's the thing. If the guy is in hiding because he's afraid of being assassinated, I mean, Trump can't guarantee anything, because Trump is basically a liar now. But, tell these Israelis to back off. Now, you want to negotiate with these people. You have to do it in good faith, and everybody has to feel safe. When the mafia has a sit down, we don't use the M word, by the way. When organized crime has a sit down, they do it through a third party, and they do it in a third party safe place, so everybody feels safe to negotiate freely. That's what the United States should be doing with these people. Now, Iran has refused to engage directly with the U.S. unless Israel halts the attacks. Engage meaning talk diplomatically. Trump is now convinced no deal is possible and appears to have moved towards the military option he wanted to avoid. Now, this is all I mean, is this a point of no return now? I don't know. I don't think Trump knows. But it just seems that he is in a place now where he either has to go all in or hope that there's some sort of regime change. There may not be regime change in Iran, because those people may be sick of how Israel is bullying the Middle East like this. There may not be regime change in Iran because the Chinese and Russians don't want it. There may not be regime change in Iran because the Middle Eastern countries like Saudi Arabia and, well, I know Turkey's considered European or half European, but they're in that region. Countries in that region are terrified of an even crazier regime taking over. That's what Trump is not considering, or at least not publicly saying. This is a major. It's crazy that this has happened. I was going to take this weekend off. I was looking for content yesterday and I couldn't find it. And all of a sudden, kaboom. This happens today. And this is amazing. It's scary. I don't know where we're going to go from here. We don't know if these facilities, the facilities on the top, the top structures, these buildings, they may be totally destroyed, but we don't know what's going on the bottom. Those bunker buster bombs only go, I think, 200 feet. I think I read somewhere. The Iranians, they may have built something 500-600 feet under the ground. We don't know. So only time will tell. And as I said in another previous podcast, that the Iranians have said that they bragged about, they were able to move a lot of their enrichment resources and materials to safer places that the United States didn't know about. Now, Trump has said that he knows where the Ayatollah is hiding. I don't know how, but he says he knows, and that he can stay alive, quote, for now. So we'll see. I think if this assassination of this Ayatollah Khomeini happens, if they do kill him, if they do get to him, then all bets are off. I don't think the Iranians will tolerate that. And I think you'll start to see the rise of these crazy groups like ISIS and Hezbollah and Hamas. They'll all come back. The Houthis, they'll all come roaring back. And that's when these terror strikes will happen. And that's when, unfortunately, Europeans and Americans start to die. Not Jews, not blacks, not other Middle Easterners. But these people will go to places like France and England and Germany. They'll blow up stations. They'll shoot up movie theaters. And it'll all be in the name of Israel not wanting Iran to have a nuclear program that we don't even know if they have one. But anyway, this was an impromptu podcast tonight. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Be careful out there, gentlemen. It's a world that is sick and getting sicker. Satan is always busy. Be a man, have a backbone, because common sense and masculinity are worth standing up for. We'll see you soon.